Measuring and weighing technique is an essential component of judging breeds that have height and/or weight as a standard disqualification or condition of a class. An accurate measurement is owed to the exhibitor, and AKC rules assign decision-making authority to the judge when it comes to height and weight. Therefore, it's imperative that the judge approved for measurable breeds are proficient in proper procedure when using the scale or the wicket. Exhibitors of breeds with height or weight limitations should also familiarize themselves with measurement procedure. A judge can measure an entry at any point in the judging process, but a dog can only be measured or weighed once during the course of a show. The judge should call for the wicket or the scales if he or she is unsure if the entry is within the allowable height or weight. A competing exhibitor in the same class can request a measurement as long as the request to the judge is made before the last dog in the class has been individually examined and gaited. The first procedure we will review is the proper use of the wicket, which measures height. The only tools one may use to determine the height of a dog is the AKC-approved wicket. You may not mark your slacks or skirt, compare the entry to your leg, the table, ring gates or stanchions, etc., to estimate the dog's height. If the judge has determined an entry should be measured, or a protest has been lodged by a competing exhibitor in the same class, the superintendent or show secretary should be called to bring the wicket to the ring. Inform the exhibitor that you're measuring their dog to confirm it is in with the allowable range of the breed standard. Verify with the exhibitor the limits of the breed standard. If a breed has a maximum and a minimum allowable height, you must be specific which you are measuring. Do not hesitate to refer to the written standard to verify with the exhibitor and to confirm the exact wording. You, the judge, are responsible for setting the wicket. Lay the wicket on a flat surface to set the legs. The legs of the wicket have hash marks in 1/2 inch increments. When measuring a table breed, you may not have the dog on the table while the wicket is being set. Once set, verify the setting for both legs with a metal tape measure with the exhibitor. Once the wicket has been set and verified, do not readjust the legs or the knobs as it may alter the setting. Dogs are to be measured where they are normally examined, ground, table, or ramp. If it's an optional breed, extend to the exhibitor the choice of where the dog is to be measured. At outdoor shows, the superintendent will provide a board for measuring breeds examined on the ground, or if not available, an exhibit may be measured on a flat surface, level, and outside the ring. Now that the wicket is set, the handler is to set the dog to the judge's specifications. At no time is the judge to set the dog or hold the head. Before measuring the dog, ensure that it is stacked properly and that the head is held naturally. If measuring a coated breed, allow the exhibitor to open the coat before starting measurement. If an exhibitor refuses to follow the judge's direction, the show chairperson should be called to the ring, and a complaint may be filed with the event committee for failure to follow the judge's direction in the ring. Traditionally, the wicket will be held in the judge's right hand. Approach the dog with the wicket held to the side or behind your back and feel for the highest point of the withers with your left hand. While maintaining contact with the withers, bring the wicket from the rear of the dog moving forward to the measuring point and lower it, making gentle contact to the withers or ground surface. If both legs on the wicket touch the floor or table at the same time without touching the dog measures under the height set. If one or both of the legs of the wicket do not touch the floor or table, the dog measures over the height set. If both of the legs of the wicket touch the table or floor and the measuring point on the dog measures at the height set. Make only one attempt to measure a dog. Any dog you are unable to measure must be excused. Mark your book explaining for the reason for the excusal. If you measure a dog out, you must clearly and concisely communicate this to the exhibitor. Mark the judge's book disqualified, measured out, undersized or oversized depending on the height disqualification. Declare the dog ineligible for the class and mark the judge's book measured out ineligible. If the dog measures in under the standard height disqualification or condition of class, mark the judge's book measured in. It's essential that you mark the judge's book measured in, as a dog can only be measured one time at an event. Exhibitors cannot request to be excused from the class after a measurement has been called on a dog. The second procedure we will review is how to properly weigh an entry. The only tools one may use to determine the weight of a dog is the AKC-approved scale. You may not lift the dog to estimate its weight. While there is one official type of Wicket that may be used, as a judge you may encounter different types of scales, so you should take the time to familiarize yourself with each. If the judge has determined an entry should be weighed, or a protest has been lodged by a competing exhibitor in the same class, the superintendent or show secretary should be called to bring the scale to the ring. With certain electrical scales, it may be necessary for the judge, exhibitor, and dog to go to the superintendent's desk to complete the weighing. In those situations, all other exhibitors are to remain in the ring. If possible, continue judging until the scale arrives up until you are ready to indicate your placements. Inform the exhibitor that you are weighing their dog to confirm it is within the allowable range of the breed standard or the class. Verify with the exhibitor the limits of the breed standard. Do not hesitate to refer to the written standard to verify with the exhibitor and to confirm the exact wording. The scale will be set on a table to conduct the weighing. In addition to the scale, the superintendent or show secretary is required to provide a weight to calibrate the scale. Once the scale has been set up by the superintendent, verify its calibration with the test weight. Verify the scale is displaying 0. Place the weight on the scale and verify that it is reading the same as the weight. The weight should be stamped and is to be displayed to the exhibitor. Remove the weight and verify that the scale returns to 0. Once calibrated, instruct the exhibitor to place the dog on the scale with the option to leave the lead on or to remove the lead. The weight is to be determined without touching the dog. The dog may sit, stand, or lie on the scale, but must be weighed with all body parts remaining on the scale to determine the weight. If the lead is left on, it must be held loosely. If the lead is removed, the handler must hover over the dog in case it should jump from the scale. Indicate to the exhibitor the result of the weighing, stating only whether it is weighed in or out, not the number, and then mark your book accordingly. Breed standards weight disqualification, mark the book disqualified, weighing out depending on the weight disqualification. Conditions of a class, declare the dog ineligible for the class and mark the judge's book excused, ineligible, weighed out. If the dog measures in under the standard weight disqualification or condition of class, mark the judge's book weighed in. It is essential that you mark the judge's book weighed in, as a dog can only be weighed one time at an event. Make only one attempt to weigh the dog. Any dog that you are unable to weigh must be excused. Mark your book explaining the reason for the excusal. The determination of the result of the measurement or the weight of a dog is at the sole discretion of the judge and is not subject to protest. If the measuring or weighing could not be completed due to the lack of equipment or faulty equipment, then the judge must mark their book accordingly. The dogs that were to be measured or weighed will remain in the class, and the judge should remove that aspect of height or weight from their consideration, as they cannot make a determination whether the dog is within the acceptable range of height or weight. If you are an applicant interviewing for breeds with weight or height as a disqualification or condition of class, you are required to take and pass the applicable Wicket and/or scales test. Failure of the test will result in a mandatory 90-day hold on your application subject to the passing of a re-exam. According to AKC board policy, retest is also required for any judge who receives a negative field report on their measuring or weighing procedure. Failure of the test may result in the removal of all applicable measurable breeds. The test is ideally given in an empty show ring in order to simulate actual class conditions, and all areas of procedure and execution of the equipment must be accurate in order to pass.